Are you lost? Where do you need to go? Please take a seat here. It makes people, I think that humility is very important to understand that you are not here to be the boss. You're here to serve. This is a service I'm giving to people that we as a Langeni family are giving to people over and above the books. It's just showing that this is a place. So I think it's important to know that. I mean, the center where we work, the people that clean our bathrooms knock off at 6. So when we have events much later, I need to go in there to just see if it's okay. Though the center, I could just blame the center, but I'm delivering an experience here. So is there enough toilet paper? Are the places clean? And also, I also find it hard to tell people to do something that I can't do. So the young lady that is part of my team, she easily serves because she's seen me do it. And even sometimes I'm like, can I help you? She wants to do it. So it's like people do as you do, not do as you say. As I tell you, some days it shocks me, like, wow, this is work. But I also don't see anything else outside of it. Yeah. I mean, my faith is very central to me. So I believe I can do, God and my faith is what powers me. So with every role I have to play, I invite God in everything I do. That's number one. I feel that powers me from behind. But the main thing, help. There's no, and I love what you said. I don't always get it right. There's some moments I miss, which I would love to be there, but I'm not there. I'm grateful for my partner. My husband is very supportive. He runs the house when I'm not here. You'll see we have events at night. Obviously somebody's gonna cook. Somebody has to tuck in those kids. Somebody has to make sure they've done their homework. All of that, and he plays that. Mom V, who's then our live-in full-time help. She's here Monday to Friday. She gets her weekends off. She sorts out more, the cleaning, the uniform, all of those things. And a lot of it is sacrifice because your time, like you have to be, once you decide what you want to do, your time, you have to then look at your time. You won't be able to do everything. So once you decide what's important, so my faith is important, my family is important, the business is important. Therefore, everything I spend time around rotates about these 3 things.
A full-time career woman, okay, like big corporate gig, title, all of the things. And she's figured out a way to do something that is so unfortunately unique in South Africa because of our history, but we're so proud of her to have this space. She owns a bookstore in one of the most beautiful places in Johannesburg, in Melville. We're going to talk about how she started this business and what it's like to be running a side hustle as you're also got like a huge corporate gig. Sewela, welcome.
You're listening to Madam Speaker Says, your no fluff cheat code to becoming the voice everyone listens to. I'm your host, Machokhodi. If you've been waiting for a permission slip to straighten your crown and take up space like you invented the blueprint, Madam Speaker Says got you covered. No whispers, no apologies, just you, me, and some bold ass moves. Let's get into it.
Do you have any, are you okay with sound? Are you hearing any background sound?
No, not at all. Nope.
Okay, cool.
You sound great.
Because if the house is full, people are doing their things.
It's Easter, so okay, we are recording.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. I am just so privileged that you're here with us on this journey as we speak to these phenomenal women from around the world, honestly, who are bringing us along to their lives and giving us a window into what it's like in their lives, and also a cheat sheet into how you can do some of the amazing things that they've done without the 15 years it might have taken them to figure it out, or the blood and the sweat and the tears. Like, this is your cheat code, okay? So pull up a chair, get whatever tea you need. And today you're gonna hear some Donna popping out of me, maybe some Betty too. Because I'm so excited. I'm joined by my sister here, Sewela Langeni. And she is this gorgeous, amazing entrepreneur. She's a mom. She's a full-time career woman, okay, like big corporate gig, title, all of the things. And she's figured out a way to do something that is so unfortunately unique in South Africa because of our history, but we're so proud of her to have this space. She owns a bookstore in one of the most beautiful places in Johannesburg, in Melville. We're going to talk about how she started this business and what it's like to be running a side hustle as you're also got like a huge corporate gig. Sewela, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so good to have you.
Maori, thank you so much, my sister. Thank you so much. I mean, we met when you launched your book here, and the connection just stuck because, yeah, I think kindred spirits, all wanting to do the same things. Thank you. I'm so honored to be on this platform.
100%. It's so funny too. I'm thinking about like the last time we met, our roles have changed because you were in this seat and you did such a beautiful job interviewing me for the launch of Innards. I'm always, always so grateful for that night. And it's such a pleasure for me to be sitting on this other end. Because honestly, even as we were doing the Innards launch, I had 100,000,001 questions for you. I was like, wait a minute, and then this, and then that. So I'm excited to get into it. And I
Awesome.
definitely want to get into the business part. But before we peel into that, tell me about young Sewela. Tell me about where you grew up and tell me about what books meant to you when you were growing up.
Young Sewela grew up Limpopo. It's a province in South Africa in a township called Levoahomu. I grew up raised by my mom and dad. My mom was my mom worked for government, so she was an accounting clerk. And my dad was a migrant worker, so we didn't really see him a lot. We saw him at the end of each month. So it was mainly mom and my brothers and I. I've got an older brother and a younger brother. As a young Sewela man was just very playful. I remember every feedback I used to get was I'm too playful. Even teachers, everybody, the talkative one, the one who always landed up on that class sheet for noisemakers. Books I think only started meaning a lot to me, if I'm honest, in my later years, maybe like late primary school, would be like prep school in other places. And I remember Mama always had books around. I remember she had those Reader's Digest books, the hardcover ones where there'll be like 2 or 3 novels in one book. That's what I remember. I remember her reading a lot of like anything that she wanted to know, like knitting, diet. There would be a book about it. But then I didn't know, things, how amazing how things just come full circle later. But I wouldn't say I'm a child that grew up buried in books. I played, I disappeared a lot. I got into trouble because I came back late. I had friends in every area code. I'd come back and she'd be like, where did we eat? Where did we eat? The whole day I was that friend. I just disappeared. I like to play a lot. It's only now when books have become my escape. But yeah, carefree child, very beautiful childhood. Yeah, that's me.
I love it. I want to shout this out to folks who don't know South Africa very well. Sewela truly is my sister. We come from the same tribe. My mother is Betty, and she grew up in Limpopo, which is very like that's our country, right?
Yeah.
And it warms my heart to imagine you as this young little Sewela running around everywhere and playing. And I also love this thing that you're saying that, books kind of came later. I am curious though, what about stories? Because sometimes the way that we imagine
Yeah.
books in the African context is it only has to be something between a spine. But I know from my own childhood that I was just enveloped by so many rich stories. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So even though they were not in books, but there were stories everywhere. I mean, my mom told lots of stories about where we come from as a people, where she comes from, where my father comes from, how they met. Our teachers told a lot of stories. Our neighbors told a lot of stories. We actually grew up to next door to an elderly couple who came originally from KZN. Kulu, no, Makulu. They told or no Gogo told a lot of stories. So you were always traveling in your mind, even though you were not seeing it in words, but you were always traveling in my mind, in your mind. My mom told a lot of stories about like where they come from. They come from a place called Bochum. It's the deeper part of Limpopo, closer to the border with Botswana. So she'd tell a whole lot of stories. My grandmother told a whole lot of stories. She played Iba, which is music with big drums. So she would tell stories about that through the music and orally, just when we visit her. So around, and she did a lot of praise poem, where she told you my name actually has a whole poem about it. So every time we'd visit her, she'd start saying my name, like Zulu, they'll say Isthakazelo zam, mara ka Sepedi ke Sereto, saying Sewela and where the name comes from and the history. And it's funny how when you grow older, you actually embody those things they say about you as they praise you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing this on purpose, and I think it's so important for us to remember we don't come from a book culture, we don't come from a written text culture, but we come from centuries of stories. So when you have this young, black, gorgeous woman own a bookstore and we act all brand new, like, oh my God, where's this coming from? It comes from the people who created storytelling, right? Like it's not a shock. Let's fast forward a little bit and talk about the
Yeah.
books that you see now as these actually shaped me. So it's not necessarily young Sewela, but when you think about yourself as just a grown human being, what are maybe two books that you can shout out that you're like, this book completely changed my life?
I know why the cage bird sings was one of those books for me.
Maya Angelou.
Purple Hype. Yes. I mean, for the first time, I don't know. I was like, Mar, where were these books when I grew up? Because when I suddenly opened those books and there's a black woman character, there's a Purple Hibiscus was the second one with Chimamanda Adichie. Just what this girl thought about her looks, what she thought about her family. It felt like she saw me. And I was like, wow, I can be represented in books like this. So those two books definitely where I felt located in literature. And I love that you say that about books, that we don't come from the spine, but we come from stories. So and sometimes we may nullify that it doesn't mean anything, but actually it's what's built to the culmination of who we are. So those two books, I'll definitely plug them as those books where I felt seen. I felt like, wow, there are people like us that can be written in books like this, yeah.
Yeah, those are powerful books, both of them. And it's interesting that you say that because Chimamanda has spoken so beautifully about what it was like growing up reading stories about snow and tea and things so foreign from us, an apple. And she's growing up in Nigeria and she's like, oh my God, I would love to have like, an ice cone. What is that?
It's so hot here. So hot.
Exactly.
Where's the snow?
Exactly. You're somewhere completely different. Let's fast forward a little bit and take this love that you have for books. Walk us through how does that translate into book circle capital? Book capital, sorry, I always butchered the order.
Yeah, no, you said it right. Book circle capital. These days we're shortening it to book capital.
Book
so
capital,
I don't know, maybe that's where it's evolving to. But the history the bookshop was actually founded by my husband. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I didn't found the business. Loiso Langeni started the business. He was retrenched at ABSA at the time, which is a big banking conglomerate and here in South Africa, and he's always read. We've always read. So when I then found Maya Angelou and I found Chimamanda, we each just read when we met. He reads more politics and new stuff. I read the fiction. Although now I'm more into biographies and memoirs, but he's always read and we've always read together, but then we've always wondered, when we go to bookshops, Maho, do you see, especially here, you take into a shelf back at the corner, it's not
Mhm.
something that you see
Mhm.
as you walk in. So that's always irritated us, always agitated us. And I think he started he comes from a small town in the Northern Cape called Town, and he's always wanted books where he's escaped growing up, but he's always wanted to share this with other people. So when he got retrenched, he started the subscription business where people would pay a certain amount of money and then he would then send them books. But then over time, the maths was not adding up. So because then somebody would request a book which is higher, and then he thought, why not just open a whole space? So he opened up the shop in Maboneng in 2017. Opened the shop in Maboneng, whole celebration. We had the Fanons, we had the Tambo, we had the Mandelas, it was just this
Big
beautiful,
deal.
blissful space. But unfortunately, by the end of that year, something terrible happened. The landlord didn't tell us that the roof was so badly done that when the summer rains came, the place leaked and books were damaged, the space was damaged. And that was such a big blow to him. Mainly, I was there mainly as a spouse supporting. I remember I was shopping for all the ornaments to make the space look nice, but still just proud that this thing is happening. So it's then when the tragedy happened is then when I stepped in a lot more, just to assist, mainly just to help your partner through this tough time. And when we had to then find the new place in Melville, it was very quiet. It needed more, it's not like an obvious. Maboneng at that time was a serious tourist attraction.
Yes.
You had people coming with busloads to come and see this place. So it didn't require a lot of work around your networks and all of that. Networking, finding authors, eventing, that piece. But that's when then I stepped in to just assist with that. When we moved to Melville, it was very quiet. 27 boxes, a very destination place. Once you've been once, not really much that calls you back. And I stepped in just to help with that, to say, I went to book fairs, met authors. Hey, why don't you do this? Maximizing on the strengths you have in a relationship.
Yes.
One has a strength. He's stronger in curating the books and saying, this is what I think people like. I'm stronger with, I'm the one that talks, get the people around, let's chat, knowing about us. Plus, I'm a marketer by profession, so it was easier. So that's how I then became closer. And over time, Lawyer was like, hey, this is more your thing. I'm fully giving the business to you. So I think by the end of 2017, early 2018, he's like, this is your thing. Take over. You seem to be doing it better than me. And that's how I took over the business. And here we are.
So number one, it's a family business, right? And then number two,
It is. It is.
it became fully, it's a family business, but somebody's got to run the ship. And you were running the ship fairly early on, around 2017,
Yes.
end of 2017. I want to just paint
Yes.
a parallel picture
Yeah.
for folks. What was your work? What was your 9 to 5 at that time phrase? So we're talking about like 2017, 2018. What's your career?
Yeah. So I'm a marketer by profession. I studied journalism. I did comms, and I also did marketing. So I'm a marketer by profession. So at that time, I was working for Liberty, who's still my current employer. It's a financial services institution. They sell life insurance. So I worked in marketing, where we crafting marketing strategies for advisors to help them sell our various products. So day to day involved doing strategies, launching products, going on road shows, that kind of thing. So that happened parallel. So the bookshop was mainly then my weekend gig. He was there full time, and then I just advise around ideas. Why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? We would do then standard. We had an event on every Thursday night. We had an event Thursday night to have authors come and discuss, and then Saturdays sometimes I would assist. I would open the shop. So there was a full time day job, and then was pre-COVID, we were going to work Monday to Friday. It's not like now where you can have this hybrid situation. So yeah, that was the picture work-wise then.
And you're a mom as well. In 2017, you were already
Yes.
a mom?
Yes. By 2017, I've got two boys. So one is turning 11 this year, the other's turning 13. So yeah, boys, 2017, they were still young. Still young. But back to that conversation we had at the beginning, there is a lot of help. There's help But a lot of it falls on you as the mom, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking, just to bring our listeners in, we were talking about the kind of help that we need in order to show up to these spaces as our full selves. Yes, we're
Yeah.
moms. Yes, we're wives. Yes, we're so many other things. We're daughters. Like, you're being pulled in so many directions. But you also have your own dreams, right? You have your corporate gig. You have this
Yeah.
love child between all of your family that is the bookstore. How do you feed into all of that? And in the South African context, I was raised in it, so I understand we often have a lot of help. Some of it is hired help and also family. So that's really important for people outside of the South African context to understand. But I mean, like, when I met you, I was like, how? Okay, how? Because even with all of that help, to be a mom to boys who are, like, boys are demanding in terms of how much energy they have to run this business that the entire community, I mean, like, you have friends around the world. This is not a small time project, right? And we also need to contextualize for people outside of South Africa.
Thank
This
you.
is one of a handful. I don't know any other Black-owned bookstore in South Africa. So I want to talk about that in a moment. But to be playing so many different roles, you have a huge title at Liberty. To be playing all of these different roles, I feel like a lot of us, I can imagine that there might be a listener who has a really important job that they're doing, and that job sustains their family, and they have this dream. How do you balance all of those things? And I don't particularly like the balance question, because some days you get it right one way, some days you don't. But I do want to understand and unpack, what does it mean to have such huge life projects and to have this side hustle? What advice do you have for young Langeni? Sorry, not young Langeni, young Sewela back in 2017, just starting out, just really getting deep into work. As you look back now, what do you think makes a side hustle sustainable?
My faith is very central to me. So I believe I can do, God and my faith is what powers me. So with every role I have to play, I invite God in everything I do. That's number one. I feel that powers me from behind. But the main thing, I mean, help. There's no, and I love what you said. I don't always get it right. There's some moments I miss, which I would love to be there, but I'm not there. I'm grateful for my partner. My husband is very supportive. He runs the house when I'm not here. I mean, you'll see we have events at night. I mean, obviously somebody's gonna cook, somebody has to tuck in those kids, somebody has to make sure they've done their homework, all of that, and he plays that. Mom V, who's then our live-in full-time help, she's here Monday to Friday. She gets her weekends off. She sorts out more, the cleaning, the uniform, all of those things, and a lot of it is sacrifice, because your time, like, you have to be, once you decide what you want to do, your time, you have to then look at your time. You won't be able to do everything. So once you decide what's important, so my faith is important, my family is important, the business is important. Therefore, everything I spend time around rotates about these three things. So if there's anything else that comes to take me away, no matter how shiny and beautiful it looks, does it fit to this three? No, then we have to go. So there have to be some stuff that you're gonna say no to, and if it makes you unpopular, take it on the chin. But if once you've decided, these are the three things. So it's my faith, it's my family, it's my main work, because that's what provides for us. Because hey, sometimes passion stuff take time to actually start seeing the financial results. So my work, I've declared this thing. So it's very important to also declare. So if you've got that passion and you've got a day job, declare. So my day job knows about it. There's a compliance form I fill in annually to say I still do this thing. And so they know about it. Funny enough, this year they've even roped me into some stuff, because now employers are seeing the value of people and what they do and how they can that feed into their values. So now I can openly even talk about what I do in the literacy space in my day job because it's declared. So that's important because it's not a secret thing. Though I don't do it during work hours, but it's something that they know occupies my time because I go in platforms like this where my sister is going to post me on things. I do television interview, I do those. So it's important to declare. You had a follow-up question on this one. You wanted to know more?
I want to highlight what you're saying because I know that there's someone who needs to hear this. The things that you're talking about, like number one, time management, being really clear about what your priorities in life are. And that NO word, that like full sentence word that sometimes is hard for us to get off our chest. Like, no, like I cannot be 100 million things. I'm already like 500 things, but 100 and a million, that's a stretch too far, right? So I love, and what I wanted to dig into a little bit more is to ask you about your time management. Like, what does it actually look like week to week to manage your time across this huge job that you have and that you respect, right? But then also beautiful thing that you're nurturing, not just for yourself, but for the community. But I also wanted to call out for anybody who's listening, the help, right? Like getting help and support and being really clear and not being shy to raise your hand and say, I actually need help around this.
Exactly.
It's like, I need help. I'm that person. I've had to learn to be like, actually, no, like I'm in over my head. I need help over X, head. And then number 3, transparency. I think this is a game changer because a lot of times when people are thinking about starting something on the side, they're really nervous about how it's going to be perceived at work. And the advice that you're giving about being transparent, I want to talk more about that because that's not always like how people move,
Yes. And I mean, people have also been burnt, right? You're not sure how it's going to be received.
Of course.
But and some people may not receive it well, people that you report to. But I show up the best way I can. I meet my deadlines. I'm doing, and I don't want my passion to then come in the way of what I respect my day job. So respect your day job. If you're gonna be somewhere, be somewhere. If you have a deadline, meet that deadline. Be transparent with your bosses. If there's something that you know is going to take a lot more than just showing up a certain time, declare. Say, hey guys, can I just take leave then? Because I'm gone to this entrepreneur summit. I thought it was just an hour. Actually took a whole afternoon. So can I just take leave? So because in that way, I just think then you are met with the same kind of respect to say, hey, I see this person takes this seriously. Therefore, I'll give them a chance. And the time management is a typical. My day is in the morning. Wake up, devotion, that's the first thing. Sort out then the kids. I choose to take them to school because I feel it's the time I have with them. When we drive in the morning, help them get ready, drive in the morning. There is an option that I could, but in the afternoon I can't do that because there's often a lot more for them to do and running around. So the morning, I feel that's when I pour better into them. When I come back, if I'm working from home, then I do a little bit of exercise. So I think it's also important to prioritize your own things. I've found that walking for me is what helps me. I used to be a long distance runner way back then, but now no now I just walk. That's enough. So that exercise is very important for me. After exercise, and I'm sitting down, I'm on the desk. I don't have separate to-do lists for the business. Everything is all in one. I would, like meetings for the bookshop and all of that, of course, I'll take it later, like now. But the actual ordering of stock, for example, because, I mean, they work during working hours like everybody else. Right. The arranging, meetings with people, the finding availability, sending those emails, that's done all at once. So of course I'll look at the day job and see what meetings I've got. But when I've got a gap, then admin is all dealt as once for admin, so that's dealt with. And meetings during the day. And these days we have the flexibility of the virtual moments. So if people prefer to meet with you I always request a virtual meeting first and foremost, because you know that getting ready takes a lot of time, driving takes a lot of time, so it's easier to do. So just that, finding those things that give you a lot more time to do the things that you like, but also starting with things that give you joy, because you
Yeah.
must give, you are able to give from that place where you yourself have tended to that. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah.
That makes so much sense. And anybody who has met this woman, let me tell you, like the level of joy that just exudes from your being, I feel it. Like I know that you are living in purpose and in joy because I've experienced it. To be with you is to see that in action. And I am curious about something which is related to this, especially as a right? I mean, your bookstore is doing so much big cultural work for all of us. Let's qualify, because for folks who are outside of South Africa, they might not really understand what we're talking about, like the significance of this particular bookstore, that this particular bookstore is female owned, right? And well, it's a family business, but you're leading the ship, number
I'm the
one.
face of it. Yeah, you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're the face of it. But number two, as well, that it's Black people behind the shop. I can't tell you, Sewela, how many times friends, family from United States, from Europe, traveling, going to South Africa, going to Cape Town, asking for recommendations from me. And they want to support the people who understand our history of apartheid and white supremacy and how much that messed up our country. They want to support Black-owned businesses. And my list is like
Yeah.
there's just not enough of us. Not because we don't want to, because it's been systematically stacked against us. So I want
It's
to
hard to get in. It's hard to get in. Yeah.
it's hard to get in. It's not because people don't have dreams or that they're not working hard or they don't want to, but apartheid, we're talking about like 400 years that we're pushing up.
Yeah.
So talk to me about what it takes inside of you. You already started talking about something which I think is huge, which is your faith, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do you meet that? What is the mindset? What do you tell other people who are considering starting something themselves, but you
Yeah.
see them kind of battling this kind of, oh, but can I, like, do I have permission? Am I worthy? All these questions.
Yeah.
And then also being met by the world slamming you constantly, right?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily
Yeah.
always being welcoming. Sometimes, yes, but in our context, in our country, we know that it wasn't set up for us.
Hey, pull up. Just you and me for a second. Are you an exec, a founder, or an entrepreneur who's sick of shrinking in rooms you're overqualified to lead? It's time to stop playing small and start owning your expertise. But how, Makhokhodi? Girl, I got you. I offer coaching that helps women of color just like you to claim your place as a thought leader. Whether you want to command a room, craft and share your signature story, or finally get that book out of your head and onto bookshelves, I've got the strategy and spicy accountability that you need. If you're tired of seeing less qualified folks shine while you stay behind the scenes, girl, the wait list is open. Follow the link in show notes to stop waiting for permission and claim your VIP spot now. My mission? Helping women just like you to snatch the spotlight, shake the table, and take your damn seat at the top already. No begging, no detours, and nope, no apologies. Just bold ass moves.
Absolutely. I mean, I like looking at old pictures of when we first started, how the shelves looked. There were so few books. The place looked lonely and almost even cold. And so it's that thing of we comforted by seeing our children seeing themselves in the stuff they consume, not just the children in this house, but the children, South African children, Black South African children, seeing books where they're seeing a child that looks like them on the cover, a story, not waiting until they're in varsity like you and me to encounter content that talks about them, but starting from when they start school to see books like that. I think that's the drive to keep doing what we do. Some days I do have those days and I don't want to paint a rosy picture. There's some days where I'm like, I could just be comfortable and have it 9 to 5. What's wrong with me? But then that thing just keeps gnawing at you, knowing that you're not done and there's more that still needs to be done. And the beauty of it, and I ascribe it to God, is once you take that step, people meet you there. One of the moms we once had at the bookshop, it's Dr. Cindy Magona. She's also a well-known South African poet and writer. She says, start something and people will come. And I can only testify that that's been happening. Yes, you'll be met with opposition. I'll give an example. When we first started, if you're ordering books, because you're stocking books, you don't know if they're going to sell. So ideally, you should be getting into some form of an agreement that will allow you to return if you've bought too much, so that you can your credit line can be open. But at the beginning, people didn't know who we were. They couldn't just suddenly trust it. So time in it proves. Now today I've got people coming and say, hey, can I give you this? Can I give you that? Can we extend your discount? Can we? So the importance of holding on, even when it's not nice, it will earn you that time. And if a door shuts, I know, like even today, if I've planned something with somebody and they suddenly change their mind, I don't sweat because I know something else will come up. So it's just that resting in it. And I think also the privilege of the day job helps. It's not our bread and butter. It's a beautiful passion thing. And I thank God that now we've got someone employed full-time in the shop. So I don't need to be there. Luis doesn't need to be there. So and his salary is paid, the rent is paid, the accounts for ordering the books is paid. So the place runs itself. But it didn't always start like that. Sometimes we had to pour even our own salaries into it to just make that stuff flow. So the importance of holding on, the importance of knowing that it won't necessarily, happen overnight, but it didn't even take that long. I mean, we started in 2017, we are in 2025, and I'm already talking about a business that's breaking even, so I'm encouraging people to say it does happen, but it will take some time.
What do you tell yourself in those moments? Because I really appreciate you saying I don't want to glamorize it, because it is glamorous, right? When we're doing a launch night, it's gorgeous. Like, hello, we look good.
Yeah.
Everything looks beautiful. And people catch the highlight reels, and people also interact with businesses, unfortunately, through social media, mostly only. So you're a consumer, and then you things on social media, and that really doesn't give you a full picture of what's going on behind the scenes. And what I'm asking is, when it is challenging, when the going has been hard, what do you say to yourself to get yourself through? I know that your faith is a really big deal, so for sure I know that it's coming up in prayers, but I'm wondering, is there even, like, what's the most textured thing that you can share with us, or even a story that's like something, or even what's the most challenging thing that happened recently and how did you move through it?
I mean, it's such back-breaking work, and I love that you say that. When we have events, we have to set up the chairs, we have to set up the banners. All these things come out of. So to paint a picture, the shop is made out of 3 shipping containers. So the center where we are at is made up of shipping containers that have been turned into this beautiful retail space. But the events is not like it's a set hall where chairs are placed there. Every time we have an event, we literally have to enact that whole thing. Take out chairs, take out the speakers, take out the banners, pull in the tables, all of that. Like, sometimes it catches me off guard. We've been doing this for years. Yuleta, who's my shop assistant, who's so brilliant. Sometimes when we pack after people have left, the euphoria and the beauty after people have left, and we now have to pack, hits me so hard. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is heavy work. This is heavy work. So after people have left, we'll probably leave maybe 30, 40 minutes after people have left, although we start packing as people are mingling. But sometimes when I just feel the actual physicalness of just how heavy this work is, I'm like, man, somebody's got to be doing this. But I'm like, I'm raised in that thing where it's like, you get in there and fix this, you are the one. Like, there's nobody else. You are the one, So I think even though I get tired, but I'm like, it's not always like this.
Yeah.
And then I look back also to the beautiful moment we've just had.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember how beautiful your launch was, and the family and people who are connecting with you who had not seen you so many years, and they're reading and they're hearing just that exchange. I think that's what gives me that high. Watching people who haven't seen each other in so many years connect, people who meet for the first time at the shop, and then they meet to go on and do other things. It's just that, like, that space. People will tell me, I felt so much at home here. Oh, I
Yes.
connected. I
Yes.
felt so much seen here. I I saw these books, and my uncle used to have these at his house. People will share such things, which even now, as I'm talking about, I'm just getting goosebumps. It's just like, okay, this is bigger than me. Okay,
Yes.
so yes, I'm tired today, but this is bigger than me, and I think that's what compels me to come back the following week.
Yeah, I mean, I can attest to that. The level of community that is alive inside
Yes.
space, and how bookstores, I mean, this is a global phenomenon, right? Bookstores more and more, in order to be sustainable, people who are smart like you are thinking about, how do I make this a space that is for the community and not just I come
Mm,
here, I buy one thing and I'm gone, right? So that's something that's really important. But
yes.
for the
Yes.
person who is not necessarily starting a bookstore, one of the things that you said that really stood out to me as you're talking is the importance of being in every single thing. I think sometimes people think
Yes.
about what
Yeah.
it means to be an entrepreneur. And I mean, you're a boss lady, right? Like, you have this amazing corporate job, you have a title, you don't do those things. They don't ask you to do janitorial work at your
No.
job. Okay. They got
No.
somebody who handles that.
No.
They have somebody at your corporate job who handles tech when the computers break down, accounting, all of it.
True.
So
Yeah.
sometimes when I see folks moving into the entrepreneurial space, especially folks from corporate, I think that can
Yeah.
be a friction point. And I'm curious if you can talk about that. Like, what was it in you that said, actually, like, let me, and I mean, I already know because omupedi, right? Owareshu. And
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
people, Betty people, like, we get the job done. We're
Yeah.
not here
Yeah.
to,
Pull
like,
up your sleeve, roll
no,
up your
get the
sleeves and
job
get in there.
done. Like, fam, we're not
Yeah.
here for that. So talk a little bit about, for you, what that transition was like, being somebody with
Yeah.
such a big title, and now you're at the end of an event and you're the person folding the chairs. I have seen this woman. She is the person physically bringing the books to Soweto Book Festival. That's backbreaking work, like you said.
Yes. I mean, uh, when you're starting, and this is such an important point. When you're starting, you cannot afford to be eroding your margins by hiring many people. So you're gonna have to do everything yourself. And yes, get help here and there, but general. And in that way, you also, even later when you're no longer doing it, you will have the knowledge. Nobody will be telling you stories about your business that you are unaware of. But I'm from a family that serves. My mom raised us to serve. My brothers serve. We serve. Like, wherever we go, we serve. Whether it's family, it's church, it's home, is whatever. When we get there and we see a problem, what do you need? So generally that comes naturally to me. But at Book Circle Capital, I just enjoy it. Coming, people, solving a problem. Are you lost? Where do you need to go? Please take a seat here. It makes people, I think that humility is very important, to understand that you are not here to be the boss. You're here to serve. This is a service I'm giving to people, that we as a Langeni family are giving to people over and above the books. It's just showing that this is a place. So I think it's important to know that. I mean, the center where we work, the people that clean our bathrooms knock off at 6. So when we have events much later, I need to go in there to just see if it's okay. Though the center, I could just blame the center, but I'm delivering an experience here. So is there enough toilet paper? The place is clean? And also, I also find it hard to tell people to do something that I can't do. So the young lady that is part of my team, she easily serves because she's seen me do it. And even sometimes I'm like, "Can I help you?" She wants to do it. So it's like, people do as you do, not do as you say. So it's just something that I think, I don't know if I'll still do. So, as I tell you, some days it shocks me, like, wow, this is work. But but I also don't see anything else outside of it. Yeah.
I mean, I cannot tell you how important this is for anybody who is
Mm,
listening and is on the fence about entrepreneurship. You really need
mm,
to understand this. There is nobody who's coming to do the job for you. There's nobody who's coming
no.
to help you. And especially if you're talking about a small business, you need to
Yeah.
put yourself in that shoe of like, the words that you're using that stand out to me, service. I'm here to
Yeah.
right? Not here to be the
Yeah.
boss,
Yeah.
not here to be like the
No.
shop caller telling people what to do. And also,
Yeah.
I mean, the thing of like, I'm willing to go into the bathroom and see what needs to be done and just take care of it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
orientation, I don't know that everybody necessarily has that orientation towards entrepreneurship.
Mm,
And I
mm.
know that sometimes good ideas die because we're comparing ourselves to somebody who is 10 years ahead
Yes.
of the game. I mean, even if
Yes.
there's somebody
Yes.
listening right now and they're like, I've always dreamt of opening a bookstore, right? And they're in Port Elizabeth. I hope that you
Yeah.
open a bookstore. And I also hope you understand, like, you cannot compare yourself now today to Sewela today,
Yes.
right? Like,
You
she's
can't.
don't do it. Compare you to where you are right now.
Yes. Yes. There's a lady not far from me. There's a bookshop right in the same vicinity. It's called Love Books. It's an awesome space, beautiful. It's on the corner where it's partnered with like a Salvation Cafe. It's a beautiful, beautiful space. I mean, that's somebody that I look up to. She's been in the game way longer than me. She's got longer networks with the book community, but somehow we found a way to coexist. And sometimes when I'm stuck, I call on her. I didn't come in and like, I'm here to take over from you or whatever. We have two different lanes. We have two different focuses, but we're trying to do the same thing. She's an indie like me, and but I respect her craft. And I know she was here way. The other day I had an event and I ran out of stock. She borrowed me some stock. When my stock came, I gave to her. So the importance of networks, the humility, sis, will take you so far. People will give you information even before you ask. As long as you don't come in with that, I know it all. I'm here. Yes, like it's important to keep it. And the knowing everything that happens in your business. I mean, I sometimes I just go in there and just have a look at the stock and see. Sometimes I move stuff around to show her based on what I know. That involvement in your business. And I've interviewed in memoirs. I've interviewed people who started businesses before. All of them is the same thing. They started, I mean, there's a guy called Miles Kubeka. He started a restaurant. He said one day he even fell asleep. He was driving with a gas canister in his car, which he forgot to close. And as he was stopping in one traffic light, he fell asleep because that gas was beginning to make him because he had gone to go cook. So those are some of the stories. You're gonna have to get your hands dirty. You're gonna.
Them pretty hands is gonna get dirty, okay?
Yes.
I'm still gonna have my manicure, but they're gonna get dirty, and you've got to be comfortable,
Yeah.
rolling up your sleeves,
Yeah.
just getting it done.
Yeah.
Talk to me, and I love
Yeah.
this that you have a breadth of exposure to many different
Mm.
kinds of entrepreneurs because many different kinds of people come to the bookstore. What is unique about
Yeah.
entrepreneurship in South Africa, specifically the Black experience of entrepreneurship in South Africa?
I think there's so many layers to that, but I think in as much as it's hard, there's still so many opportunities because all of us are like first this, based on the history that you contextualize. So, and even now, we're at the cusp of where people are very excited about the prospects of what people can do because we are riding these waves of things being open. We are in spaces that we never thought would be. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to be chatting to a guy called Raymond Ledwaba who started a whole tech a startup. He was qualified as a CA, but now he's done this. So those are the people that come in that inspire us to just see what's possible. So there are many challenges. Funding, starting is a challenge. Compliance is a challenge. Sometimes finding the right space is a challenge. Sometimes getting into the right location is a challenge because, believe it or not, even after how many years, there's still some places where as a person that looks like you and me, Black people, don't feel as welcome. So those challenges exist, but the opportunities are just there as well. So the importance of perspective for the individual now more than ever is important. You have to say, okay, yes, this is the odds are stacked against me, but these are also the opportunities. So I think there's books coming out around township economy, explaining people who are making serious money from townships. Gone are the days where it's like the only way to make money is to move to the burbs. There's books coming out around helping people to learn how to write, people doing master classes about learning. So there's many of the opportunities. There's no longer those days where it's like, oh, if you're a black person opening a business, you can only do a car wash or you can only do a chisanyama. There's so many opportunities. We've got people running consultancies about image, about etiquette. There's so many things. So I think the opportunities are endless. You find that thing that drives you, that excites you, that you think people would be able to pay for hearing from you, and you make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this. And I love the idea as well. And you touched on it earlier around community and how now it's not just one of us, it's many more of us, right? It's increasing number. And I'm curious, are there resources that you turn to yourself? For example, is there examples of coaching that you might have gotten that's helped you stand firmer in your mindset? Because one of the thing that I want to be clear about as an entrepreneur myself, mindset is probably the thing that I think has been the biggest challenge to being an entrepreneur. It's not that you can't get the work done. Getting the work done, so oftentimes that's the easy part. It's getting in here and really focusing, like you said, on the opportunities as opposed to the challenges. And what I'm curious about is, what are the resources that support you in that? Has it been coaching for you? Has it been networking? You already spoke about the importance of networking, but I'm curious, somebody who is listening and doesn't know, are there folks that you would point them out to say, you should really check out this resource, this networking opportunity? You should really reach out to this person because they run these events every Sunday. And guess what? That's where a lot of us are hanging out and thinking things through.
Absolutely. And I think there are resources. I mean, just today I spent so much time on LinkedIn just looking at I'm amazed in the number of funding or grant applications available to, for example, Black female entrepreneurs, especially if you've got stuff in tech. There's so many. So it takes a lot of time applying, but it's there. I got access to coaching through a company that does, the government, even though they've got challenges, that thing you say about, managing the good with the bad, the government has a lot of entities that does incubation, work for different sort of, whether it's through SMMEs. We actually have a department that is in charge of helping small businesses develop, but then there's a whole lot of NGOs that this department will then fund to help people across any area, from agriculture to tech to education. I normally will fall under the education piece because of books, but one of them I applied maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I met a guy called Monde Zuma. If somebody's listening, can check him out on LinkedIn. He does a lot of sharing opportunities. His LinkedIn page, you'll see, is literally just an advertisement of any opportunity you can find, whether it's internship or funding. That guy opened my mind around coaching, and this, what you say around thinking. So he would ask me to sit down and say, what's your target for the week for sales? How are you going to make that happen? What's your cost? What could you do to reduce that cost? Where do you see your business in a month? What are I had tasks to report to him on a weekly basis. That was daunting. And I told him I had to get my story right before talking to him. And that forced me. That program was more than 2 years ago, but I still practice what he taught me. So opportunities are there. And I never paid for any of that. That was a free service. There's another place called Wreseta. It's WRSETA. So it's a lot of CETAs that the government does, different in industries, even in hospitality. They are there, where they get captains of industry to come in and coach. They pay them a service, but you as an entrepreneur, you don't get to pay. But a lot of it is time. And you have to commit to it. And I know that the pressure is there, because it will take a lot from running your day-to-day of your business, because then you're focused. But after it just changes the way you think. So the resources are there, sis. I think you just have to look for it. Of course, I know that we have the privilege of internet and all of that, but I know this in government also tries having like libraries where there's free internet, there's government departments where there's free Wi-Fi outside. So it's gonna take a lot of finding from you to search those places, but those resources are available.
I love this. And I love also knowing how much is available both in the country, but you're really putting people on game. There's so much that's available beyond, right? Like it's
Globally,
important,
sure.
no matter where you are and you're listening to this, you need to be smart enough to see the opportunities that are around you where you are, but connect
Yeah.
global markets because you're not working in a silo, right?
No,
And
no.
I mean, for books, for example, I'm really curious, what do you see as some of the business trends that are working maybe in the States, maybe in the UK, that are around books you look to and you're like, this is happening in bookstores regularly. And is it different from what's happening in South Africa? Like, talk to us about how South Africa compares, especially as somebody who owns a bookstore. Like, what do you
Yeah.
see that you're like, this looks like us, this is not like us, this could be like us
Yeah.
if we got our game together?
Yeah.
And this is where I'm trying to take.
Yeah. I mean, the concept of book talk is just mind blowing. And I know it's big in the States. I know it's big in the UK, and I've been monitoring it closely. Just seeing how bookshops are monetizing that, and they're monetizing relationship with book bloggers and book talkers. And I know now for us in South Africa, it's mainly for awareness. Even for us, we've got presence in that platform, but we're not seeing a lot of sales. And I think a lot of it is also still, we don't, though we've got a lot of online penetration, people are still reluctant in transacting there. We still very much I want to see a person in front of me. I want to touch and feel the product that I'm buying. And that's what actually Book Circle Capital is leveraging on, that community that's seeing a human in front of you that says, oh, I read that book too. Oh, and then we have a whole scanner and a gossip session about a character that comes from a book, like we've met them face to face. So that's what, but so I don't know if we'll ever get to that place where we will do everything purely online, because we are very communal kind of people. But some of the I love the online bit, because we get a lot of people for Book Circle Capital. We still one branch in Melville, but we get a lot of people curious about what we do all over the country who can't necessarily be where we are. So that's one of the things I want to try and see. How do we enlarge our community to the digital space, where we and actually even in the end monetize? So beyond people, because some people always ask, is there an online link? That online link thing we used to prioritize during COVID.
Yes,
And even for you, I mean, you could participate in these sessions and feel like home, even though you are,
yes,
space-wise, you're miles apart.
yes,
So that's something that I want to. I've participated in book discussions in the UK, in the US,
yes,
while I'm at home. So
yes,
that's something that I want to actually see. The kind of topics we talk about, we always shocked at how it's borderless. It's
yes.
and I think we need to be able to open that up. So that's something that I'm always thinking about, and I'm thinking, how can we tap into that? And I see bookshops in the UK and the US are doing a good job of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ship everywhere in the world? Do you ship globally?
We only ship in South Africa, so the courier costs are just so exorbitant outside our borders. But what I always encourage, that community, I always encourage, who do you know that's here that can buy the books and bring it for
Yes,
you? That's what we.
yes,
So
yes,
so I mean, just yesterday I had a lady saying. She's in Ghana. Her friend is in town. Can she come get her books because she's here, but she's gonna leave on the 29th? Can she get all these books before? We get a lot of that. So,
yeah,
and I always say, do you have family here? Can I send it there? And then when you come, they'll send it to you. And very, very often people say, yes, 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 yes. Actually,
yes,
they're coming in a week's time.
yes,
Oh, so that's what we're leveraging on. And that always is better than, somebody's going to tell a story. Somebody's going to,
of
and I
course.
think, yeah. And I think the importance is of also, in as much as we're pushing that organic growth, let's also allow space
Mm.
for that. because I also don't want to exhaust myself. This is a long-term thing. My ambition is one of my kids will take over and do and run with it, but I also don't want it to exhaust me to a point where I'm pushing. So what works can work, what can work can work.
I, man, that part, that part, the part that is understanding this is a marathon. This is something I want to hand over to one of my kids, right? You have boys, I
Yeah.
have a son. I would love to see my son take over something that I have built.
Mm,
It is such, it is so important for us as entrepreneurs, and especially as people who
mm,
are, straddling many different roles, to understand like the purpose of
mm.
not to burn you out, because then like what good are
Yeah.
you out of the race? And I would love to hear you talk more about like that bit that is the self-love and taking care of
Yeah.
myself so I can be whole in this and be
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
for the long-term marathon, marrying
Yeah.
organic growth and caring about
Yeah.
sustainability of the business. Like this isn't a charity, so we still have to meet
Yes.
a bottom line.
Yes.
You have a full-time employee, right? So you are
Yes.
like you think about that person's financial well-being and that responsibility
Absolutely.
in a completely different way. But how do you marry those two things? Like I want to be whole, and at the same time, we need to grow, but let's grow organically. Let's not grow in a way that breaks our neck.
Yay. Yeah, and it's important. No, I mean, I remember there was, and Gurl sent people your way. I remember there was a time I was doing a lot. I was doing so much and I was feeling tired. And even here at home, I wasn't showing up fully because I'm exhausted. And I'd have people just call me, but not in a condemning way, just say, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, you don't have to be doing everything. Hey, I'm just concerned about this. I heard you speak about that. Just be careful." And thank God for your humility to listen and not feel criticized or condemned, and just saying, "I hear you." So I'm now more, one guy even told me earlier this year, "Hey, I'm not seeing the intensity of the events as I used." And I said, "It's intentional. When we were first starting, maybe I had something to prove, but now I'm just pacing it out, and we're still seeing the value financially. We're still seeing the value, sometimes even more. So it's not more about the quantity, but also just the quality and organizing it better, and also just making sure that I rest. I mean, right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm in the middle of my rest period. Last weekend, my eldest turned 13. So that weekend, I intentionally made sure that I'm doing nothing because I just want to celebrate and hang out with them. They already know like Saturdays are mainly bookshop days, but 1 or 2 Saturdays a month, she's not doing anything. And that is clear. I actually, since I have a calendar that I write, when people are asking me to share events, there is a rest weekend written there, because it has to happen. If it doesn't happen, I can feel it. I can literally feel it. I'm exhausted. I'm a bit resentful of this whole thing, while nobody's got a stick hitting me, but and I'm like, then I know, okay, I need to step away a bit. And yeah, that's the intent of it. Write it down and honor it and say no. That word we started at the beginning, even if something sounds nice and it's like, oh, we could make something out of it, but you said this was a rest weekend, and I feel so much better after it. When I honor that rest, the following week I show up, and there will be times where you're grafting, but then there must also be time when you're resting.
Yeah, I think as entrepreneurs, often we underestimate how much rest is part of the job.
Yeah.
Rest has to be part of the job, right? And also, you're
Yeah.
not your job. I mean, this is one of the beautiful things I think I know from our culture and being in a place like Mexico. South Africans, Mexicans, these are not places where people are like, my life is my job. No, it's like, girl,
No.
got a life. I gotta leave this thing
No,
alone
no, no, no,
every
no.
once in a while and go live my life, you know? So
Exactly.
I really
Exactly.
appreciate you having rest weekends, and then also being the kind of leader who's not just out there preaching something, but that you have it in your calendar and then you're holding yourself
Mm.
accountable. That's a game
Yeah.
changer.
Yeah. It's written down. If it's not written down, it's not happening,
How's it
because
gonna get
then you,
done? And how do we measure it?
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Wishy-washy.
yeah,
As we
yeah.
wrap up, I love that we're circling back to the beginning of our conversation, right? No.
Mm.
One of the things that I think is a really useful takeaway for somebody who's serious about their
Yeah.
side passion. How do I really focus on this and make it something that becomes beautiful and in the world, and a project
Yeah.
service that is needed by the community, where the community at this point, Book Capital, people in the community are asking you more than necessarily you. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm over here.
True.
When are you shipping me books, right? Because there's books that you
True.
have in
It's
South
true.
Africa. This is what I was going to say. Let me finish that thought. There's books that you have in South Africa that there's no ways I can get hold of them outside of the country, right? So you have
Yeah.
people all over the world at this point now asking you, and you have to have the discipline of being like, not right now, or just no, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's so important for
Yes.
somebody who's starting out. Any other
Yeah.
wisdom? The way that I love to give advice is to think about an earlier version of yourself. So let's go back, not
Yeah.
even 2017, because by that time you're already in the trenches and you're already seeing things
Yeah.
time. Let's go to 2016, 2015. You're
Yeah.
looking, that young Sewela is looking at you now and asking for advice. What do you tell her?
Hmm. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Um, that, you know, that the patience, because I mean that girl also didn't really know, this what you just said now about book circle capital is great, but it's not who I am. My job is great, but it's not who I am.
Mm.
So I think more than anything, do the work around finding around who are you, and
Mm.
the rest will be added. I think 2016, 2015, I think I still define myself, I'm a wife, I'm a mom. Those are the things I do, but they're not who I am, you know. So I think today I'm spending more time around who am I? How do I want to show up in this world that God's given me, these talents that He's given me? First and foremost, my identity is in my faith in Christ, but then the rest I believe will come, and I think what I would tell her is like, spend more time in just trying to find who are you, and then the rest will come, and because it's designed to help you. It's designed to just work for you. Like when you step out, it's designed that way.
Sesi waba dipiso.
I don't know when.
That is
It's
so,
you that took me there.
no, that's beautiful. That is a word. If you're listening to this conversation and you heard what sis just said, you better write that
It's
down.
you.
That is,
It's
that
you
is
that got me there. Wow.
no, that's a serious. And by the way, can I just say, like, as you're speaking, oh, I have goosebumps because it just feels like this is the wisdom of an African woman in her power, right? And I say that to mean like it is all our ancestors that lived experience, your lived experience, and then coming to this thing of like, wait, all of those roles, they're important to me, but me,
Mm,
as God has created, and I love the language that you use. God has created this earth for me. So who am I in
mm,
that? Who am I in that? I want people
mm,
to sit with that because
mm.
I can't ask anything be like, I think that's it, like that, but I mean, I'm a writer, you're a writer, like the authors. I have to know, what do you read? Like, what's the tea? What do we need to get our hands on?
Okay, I'm doing so many things at the same time. So we've got in South Africa right now, May is a big book festival month. So we've got French Hook Literary Festival coming. We've got Kingsmead coming. So I'm reading a lot of books where I'm going to be interviewing people for that.
Okay.
So that's another hat I wear. So I've done a book now called a lady by Nikki Greenwell called A Short Life. It's fiction. I've finished one called If the Dead Could Talk by Juliet Mngeda. So they're very fast paced. There's drama, the plot twist here and there. So those are exciting. But my slow burner right now is Dream Count. I don't know if people are onto Dream Count yet. So it's Chimamanda's.
Who hasn't heard of Drink Count? Where are you living?
So that's the slow burner. That's the one where I'm reading very slow. I started it even earlier before than all these others, but because it's quite, I mean, she writes brilliantly. I just take my time with it. But in between, I'm doing these other short projects because there's things happening. So those are the things I'm reading right now.
Fair enough. Fair. And we should let people know because folks always are very curious about South Africa.
Yeah.
French Hook is a festival that happens in Cape Town. It
Yeah.
really is perfect for the kind of person who's never been to South Africa before and they're curious.
Yes.
Let me tell you something, like folks outside of South Africa are so keen to get to Cape Town. So if you're planning something
Yeah.
and you're planning it
Yes.
around May, that is something to put in your calendar as a
Look it up.
consider.
Definitely.
And French Hook itself, it's a dreamy place. It's a wine country. It's really
Yeah.
worth checking out. What are some of the other festivals that you recommend? Because I know for me, like I'm going to put Soweto Book Festival out all day, every day.
Yes, yes. And then Kingsmead is also happens in the latter part of May. It's a school in Johannesburg. So they do a festival. I love that. It's a girls' school. So it's centered around content to affirm girls. It's such a beautiful space. You see dads with their daughters doing sessions
Oh.
together. It's just so beautiful. That's the one that I know is coming up. And those are the two that I know are coming up right up. And I mean, Franchuk, I'll plug it anytime. And as you said, if you're coming to Cape Town, you have to look it up. And the other smaller ones will be town-based. But for now, those are the two that I know are happening in May. And I think when it gets colder, we start slowing down. We're going into our winter now. So May, June, July. So we want to have a lot of like gatherings. Even at the bookshop, we slow down. We do September because it's literary month. We start having a lot more book festivals. There's a one happening in Durban, in KZN, and there'll be a lot more. So the Soweto one happens in November. So yeah, I just love the event, the book eventing space in South Africa, and it's growing every year.
Yes, yes, yes. And I know a lot of people who are watching are also readers and are curious. I know two things. Folks who are tuning in are serious about their travel, right? Travel is something that we enjoy.
Yeah.
And also a lot of people are big readers and some of them are writers as well. So all of these beautiful landmarks on the calendar,
Wonderful.
check out. I cannot thank you enough. This conversation was so rich. I learned a lot. I have my notes here as I'm going. Thank you so much. The level of admiration I have for you, Sewela, because we came up at the same time, same country. I understand what you're up against and that you're doing it also with so much grace. You're just one of the most graceful human beings I know. Like, always have a positive, always focusing on like what's generative, right? So much love and respect. Thank you. Thank you for doing something that feels like a service for all of us.
Thank you, Ceci. Thank you so much. I am also even going to journal from this because you made me reflect about things I didn't think about. Yeah, thank you. This conversation was just so soul-filling. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that we get to journal together, like as you go off. Yes, that is a win for this. That is a win for our conversation.